You see water under the tailpipe and instantly think something is broken. You start the car, let it idle, and notice little drops of water coming out of the exhaust. Maybe it even leaves a small puddle behind the tailpipe. For a lot of drivers, that's a panic moment. It looks strange, and anything coming out of the exhaust that isn't normal smoke feels like bad news. The good news is that in many cases, exhaust dripping water is completely normal. The bad news is that sometimes it can point to a bigger problem, so the trick is knowing the difference. It's the Car Problems YouTube channel. Let's dig a little bit deeper. In many cases, it's totally normal condensation. When your engine burns fuel, one of the natural byproducts is water vapor. That hot vapor travels through the exhaust system. But when the exhaust is cold, especially in the morning, during winter, or after the car has been sitting, the vapor cools down and turns back into liquid water inside the pipes and muffler. Then, once the engine is running, that water gets pushed out of the tailpipe. That means a few drips, or even a small steady trickle, during warm-up, is often just condensation leaving the exhaust. In other words, your car may be doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Why it happens more on cold mornings. Cold weather makes this much more noticeable. The exhaust system starts out cold, so water vapor condenses faster inside it. That's why you may see more dripping right after startup, along with a little white vapor from the tailpipe. As the exhaust heats up, the dripping usually slows down or stops. Short trips make it even more common. If you only drive a few minutes at a time, the exhaust may never get hot enough to fully dry itself out. That leaves moisture sitting in the system, ready to drip out the next time you start the car. A catalytic converter can make it even more obvious. Modern cars with catalytic converters often produce more visible water from the exhaust. That's because the catalytic converter helps clean emissions by changing harmful gases into less harmful ones, and one of those end products is more water vapor. So if your car seems to drip a bit more than an older vehicle, that doesn't automatically mean anything is wrong. In fact, it can be a sign the emissions system is doing its job. When the dripping water is nothing to worry about, if the liquid is clear, odorless, and only shows up during startup or warm-up, it's usually harmless. The same goes if the car runs normally, doesn't overheat, and there's no warning light on. A little puddle under the tailpipe after idling on a cool day is common enough that mechanics usually don't even think twice about it. This is especially true if the dripping stops or greatly reduces once the engine and exhaust are fully warm. When it might mean trouble, water from the exhaust becomes suspicious when it doesn't behave like normal condensation. If thick white smoke keeps pouring out even after the engine is fully warmed up, that's not the same thing as a little cold start vapor. If the fluid coming out is excessive, has a sweet smell, or the car is losing coolant, you may be dealing with coolant getting into the engine and burning in the combustion chamber. That can happen with a blown head gasket, a cracked cylinder head, or, in more serious cases, engine block damage. In that situation, what looks like water at the tailpipe may actually be coolant vapor condensing as it exits. Signs it could be coolant, not normal water. A newbie-friendly way to think about it is this. Normal exhaust water usually comes with a healthy running car. Bad exhaust moisture usually comes with other symptoms. If you're also seeing the coolant level dropping, the engine running hot, rough, idle at startup, sweet-smelling exhaust, or thick white smoke that doesn't go away, it's time to stop calling it just condensation. Another red flag is milky oil under the oil cap or on the dipstick, though not every coolant leak into the engine shows that right away. Could it damage the exhaust system? Normal condensation won't hurt anything by itself, but repeated short trips can. If moisture keeps building up inside the muffler and exhaust pipes and never burns off, it can slowly contribute to internal rust. That's one reason cars used mostly for short city drives sometimes rust out exhaust parts faster than cars that regularly get longer highway runs. A good, longer drive every now and then helps the exhaust get hot enough to evaporate trapped moisture. What you should do next. If the exhaust only drips a little water during startup and the car otherwise feels fine, you probably don't need to do anything. Just keep an eye on it and notice whether it goes away as the car warms up. But if the dripping comes with heavy white smoke, coolant loss, overheating, or a sweet smell, don't ignore it. At that point, the issue may not be the exhaust at all. It may be the engine warning you about a coolant leak. So yes, water dripping from the tailpipe can look alarming, but very often it's just condensation, not a disaster. The key is watching what else the car is telling you.